Hey guys, so I don't know if you remembered this book, Hell Followed With Us. I prematurely gave this a 5 out of 5 because when I first started reading this, this was a 5 out of 5 and it was my new favorite read and I was super excited to finish it and I was barreling through it, I was getting through it, and then I got to a specific chapter and that's what we're going to talk about because this ended up being a 3.5 out of 5 instead of a 5 out of 5. And it's just crazy to me how quickly you could get to a certain page and then everything just starts going downhill for a book. And it's like, what the hell? What the hell? And this happened to me with Haunting Adeline, where I got halfway through it. I was like, this is a 5 out of 5 book. I'm so excited to review this. And then halfway through, I was just like, what happened? What is this? So basically, what this book is about is a kid named Benji is trying to escape this religious cult that can control these creatures that have been infected with this sludge-like thing called the Flood. And the Flood, it can be used to mind control these creatures, but it can also be used to create these like hellhound-like sludge creatures. And the ultimate goal is to create this, which is the Seraph, and the Seraph is gonna take over the entire world. So this is what the Seraph looks like. This is their ultimate goal, and they have infected one person with the Seraph, and guess who that is? That is Benji. So the beginning of this book, they take you right into the action. You're like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? And then he has to escape from the religious cult, and I like the social commentary in this. The social commentary in this was grade A perfection. Social commentary in this is extremist religion is bad for religion because extremist religion can be detrimental to people around them, and just regular religion, just basic religion where people are just trying to mind their business and live their best life, that's okay. But when it gets to this point where extremist religions comes into play and they want to control everybody's lives, and not only do they want to control other people's lives, but they get to the point where they just want to unalive a bunch of people, that's when it gets to be a problem. So I like this and I was loving it because it was giving us the Last of Us vibes. It was giving Last of Us, it was giving zombies, it was giving apocalypse, and I love those. I love all that stuff. And people hunting for resources and having to barter, having to trade, having to run away from these sludge like creatures, and like having to run away from these zombie like creatures. So I was so freaking into this book. I was racing through it, and then I got to a certain page, and this happened to me with Haunting Adeline, where I was stumbling through it. I continued Hunting Adeline, the second book, but this this one I stopped reading. I stopped reading completely. I picked it back up yesterday to finally finish it, but this is going to be like a spoilery section because I can't continue this. I cannot continue this rant. So fast forward. I'll click a timestamp when the spoilers stop. But basically, spoilers are about to start here. Benji has an ex-boyfriend that is in the religious cult. Still, he is still in the religious cult, and Benji gets back with him at some weird chance encounter that they accidentally stumble into each other, and they keep meeting, and they end up flip-flopping, if you get it what I mean. They end up having a good time, a little bit of smut action, even though it's off screen, and this is a YA fiction. But basically, they have their good time, and then Benji goes back to the hideout, and in the hideout is where the religious cult is trying to get all these people, because the hideout has all the like insurgents that are trying to stop the religious cult, and the it has a bunch of LGBT kids that are just like not only trying to stop the cult, but they're just trying to live their best life. So it really sucks because Benji gets trailed And after Benji gets trailed, a bunch of people get unalived because he got trailed because he met with his ex-boyfriend. And afterward, Benji goes, "Oh my God, I'm sorry. I didn't know my abusive ex boyfriend would betray us." And that's when it just started going downhill because I was like, what? And then he says sorry, and people are like, well, sorry is not going to do anything, but let's continue to work together to take these people down. So then after that, the last few pages, it was quick. It was too quick. Like you didn't get time for anything in those last few pages. And usually when it's like an action, the finale, I'm okay with like you don't really have time, you don't really have time. But when it's when nothing gets resolved, that's when I have an issue with everything. Because we get to the ending of this book and there's a lot of unresolved things. There's a lot of plot points that could have been extended. There's a lot of stuff that we did not get to explore. And I know exploring would create like more issues for the characters and it would create more stress for the characters, and they've already been through it enough. But my thing is, we didn't build enough of the relationships. Like we kind of built the relationships at the beginning, but we didn't get to like get closure with the relationships. We didn't get to see what the aftermath was with all of this. With all of this happening, like these last few pages, what was the aftermath of this? And it just gets wrapped up in a quick little neat fumbly bumbly bow, and they go, "Oh yeah, well, we lived happily ever after with the remaining survivors," and that's it. And I'm just like, um, um. So, if you are going to try to pick up this book, it has really good transgender representation. I would pick up the book for that sole purpose alone, and because it was giving Last of Us vibes. So if you do want to pick up this book and still read it, this might be your new favorite read. This might be your your new your new favorite book of all time. I think I love the writing by this author. I love the really like bam in your face beginning. I like the first maybe 200 pages, and I was enjoying it. I was racing through this, and I even posted a premature review. And since then, I've never done that with the book ever again because I'm always scared that in the last 200 to 100 pages, the author is just going to tank everything. And I'm excited to read their next book, The Spirit Bears Its Teeth, because I still have that book and I have that book on audio, and I am going to be reading that book because I loved the writing style in this. The writing style in this was really good, and it was short and quick to the point, and like you got the world, but I did not like all the forced drama, none of the closure. You didn't get to see what happened with any of the relationships that they built, any of the consequences to Benji, any of the consequences, or like what happens to this world after they do everything. What's going to happen to this world? And they go, "Oh well, everything's going to get fixed, don't worry, you could just close the book now." And it's like, no, no, I want to see what happens. I want to see all that boring stuff you think is boring, because that's what I came into this for. Are we finding a cure or not? Kind of thing.